All right. Here we go. We're back again. Lockdown special. Welcome to the other side of the coin, everyone. I've got two fantastic gentlemen back again. I love having these two here because one, they're so respectful. Two, their discussion levels are epic, and the fans and the followers for all of us seems to like this combination and enjoy the discussion. So let's get started straight away. Topic for today is we want to talk about the recent rumours that's created a bit of a, I guess, shockwave through Chelsea football Twitter in regards to Aubameyang and Kai Havertz. It's been sort of split decisions between the two. Some want Aubameyang, some don't. Some want Kai Havertz, some don't. And they all seem to have legitimate reasonings around it. Some not so legitimate, but we're not going to talk about all of that stuff. But let's start straight up with my man, Johnathan. He has revealed his name. It's his alter ego name. It's Johnathan. Firstly, Johnathan, how are you, my man? How's things?
Yeah, good. I'm glad to be on. It's two really interesting points of discussion, so I'm interested to kind of get with your questions.
Brilliant. All right, let's start with Kai Havertz because I know you've got some notes. So let's bang those notes out. So my first point about Kai Havertz is, when I saw the rumor, I thought, wow, it's a fantastic player. I've watched a bit of Bayer Leverkusen, in the past, this season as well, and last season, and this player, he's got the skills. He's definitely got what it takes to be world class. Left-footed player, young as well. He's got this ability to drift with the ball, which is so graceful to watch. But as soon as I saw his link, and obviously it was linked towards us not sort of going with Coutinho anymore, and pursuing perhaps the Havertz still, I was sort of thinking, well, this doesn't make sense to me, because my whole ideology around Coutinho was that he'd be great on a loan. He'd be perfect as a rotational player. And my issue was that with Kai Havertz is he would probably warrant a start. He would warrant a start, which would then mean to me a change of plan for players like Mount, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Pulisic, Callum Hudson-Odoi. I feel those are the players that would be heavily affected by Kai Havertz. So what I want to ask you is, what's your thought process? Because I know you are very keen on Kai Havertz. So what's your thought process around Kai Havertz? And my question to you is, how would you handle the fact that we've got the plethora of the players that I've just mentioned? How would you manage to give, a proper amount of game time that they deserve next season?
It is a difficult one because we talk about competition for places, and then you talk about overcrowding. It's trying to balance that. And the reason I'm so keen on Havertz is you look at his age, you look at how many years he's played in the Bundesliga already. And I don't watch as much as I know Jay does, but I've seen quite a lot of this boy, and I'm just really excited by him. And I know it's a lot of money, and I know we need to strengthen elsewhere. And as you say, we've got your Mounts, we've got your Loftus-Cheeks, and other players that can play in that centre attacking mid role and in the other attacking positions. But I just think for a player of his ability, if you can buy him, you have to try. And that's kind of where, as I say, I go to the competition question. Mount is very versatile. He can play in a lot of different roles. And Loftus-Cheek, don't get me wrong, as a lot of fans do, I love him. He's fantastic. When he plays, he can be the linchpin. He can be a real, he can be a very important player for this Chelsea team. But given him the last few years, the amount of injuries he's had, yes, the last one was Achilles, which is, it happens, but he's had quite a few back injuries. And if another one recurs, that's when it leads to other injuries like hamstrings, etc. And I'm not exactly sure whether I can rely on him for a whole season. So I kind of take him as a bonus player, as much as I want him to play. Right. And I think hopefully he will. You then look at Mount. As I said, he's very versatile. So that's an attacking mid-role. If we don't sign anyone, we haven't got someone who is just a centre attacking mid. And I know Havertz can play in other positions. he's played on the right wing, he's played on the left. He can play as a second striker. But I just think for someone of his ability, if he doesn't get snapped up by Bayern, which usually happens, I know it's a lot of money. I just think he's just too good to turn down. And if we don't sign him and he goes somewhere else, I think we'll regret it, because he will turn out to be a world-class player. He's got the skills to pay the bills, is what I like to say, because he's got so many different abilities. And I did a video the other day.
Skills to pay the bills. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I just think, yes, he will probably warrant a start. I think he could be part of a rotational 4 or 5 in the attacking roles. And as I say, I go back to the amount of money it's going to cost. But I just think if you can sign someone like that, it would be fantastic to have him in the squad. Having said that, Coutinho on loan, a lot less risk, a lot easier, because he probably, whilst he's a great player and he's played for some great teams, he's not the first name on the team sheet, whereas Havertz is going to want to be one of those. So it's an interesting opening from me. I'm interested to see what both of you have to say.
Yeah, now look, I get your point. I think the biggest difference here is what you said. You're more thinking, Ruben Loftus-Cheek's probably not capable of lasting a whole season. He's a bonus player for you. Hence, when you look at it that way, you're a player short. So you're now bringing in Kai Havertz to fill in that position. Now, what I want to ask Jay, and hopefully off the back of what Jay says, we can bounce back to you, Johnathan. Jay, is it wise to think that Ruben Loftus-Cheek is a bonus player? He has signed a long-term contract, I believe, at the start of this season, 5 years. We've recently seen, I don't know about you boys, I've recently seen his video that he made for Chelsea TV. Man, seriously, I was close to tears. Like, this boy is determined. He is determined. No one is stopping him anymore. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully not another injury. Is it wise to think, one, that he's just a bonus player for us, and perhaps it's time to think about someone like Kai Havertz, and also knowing that we've just bought Ziyech, who plays in a similar role of Kai Havertz as well. So thoughts around those two things?
Okay, so firstly with Loftus-Cheek, right, I think his signing a new contract was had sort of multiple layers to it. Firstly, it gets the fans on side, because I think he's probably most fans' favourite player when he's regularly playing, because he is
my favourite.
Yeah, and he's absolutely quality. And I know I linked you that video, didn't I? Because I tweeted about it.
Yeah. That's right. Right.
Like it's a crazy video, and he's a fantastic player. But there is a sense of realism that actually, do you know what? Everyone wants him at the club. Everyone's going to be happy when he plays, and I don't know if he's ever going to be able to play as many games as Mount played this season, for example. I just don't think that's a possibility, and that's not an issue, because when he can play, he's brilliant. I think I just can't see him playing that amount of games consistently. I would love to, but I don't think it's feasible or realistic yet. We've got next season. Hopefully he can show that. Secondly, with Havertz, what I think is important about him and about Ziyech, and hopefully of other players that we're looking to bring in, is the fluidity that they provide, because then it means that we can be tactically versatile, right? And Havertz is an unbelievable player. He's in the last 2 seasons, he got 30 goals and 15 assists. That's from I think that's on Transfer Markt anyway. Which is brilliant, right? And I think as well, what Chelsea can do to be really intelligent is to replace 2 or 3 players with one quality player, because we have enough squad depth anyway. So we've got a load of money sat on. We're waiting to spend it. We've got Bakayoko coming back off loan, who's actually had a really good season in France. And I think we could fetch 25 mil for him. You get 20 for Barkley if you wanted to get rid of him, and Drinkwater can go for 10 to 15. Right? Then you're halfway there to Havertz already, and those players that we just mentioned aren't getting any minutes anyway. So you can replace 2 or 3 players with a higher quality individual, and then you can retain players like Gilmour, give them more opportunities. And what that does is that enables you to rotate a slightly smaller but much higher quality group. Equally, if you fancy, experimenting to see if Ziyech can play in the hole, because Ziyech is not very tall. He's very slender. He moves in and out, very delicately. Whereas Havertz is 6 foot, right? Havertz has played.
Yeah.
Havertz has played as a striker in some games that I've seen him playing, and what that allows you to do is that allows you to create different channels of play. It allows you to be more tactically versatile when you're playing against different opponents. So actually, Havertz is a smart signing. I think as well, he's played at a top side in a top league that is physical. The Bundesliga is not slow. It, like Spanish football and Italian football, slightly slower. German football is not that slow. And he's played well in Europe as well. So I think he's a really exciting player that can offer a lot for us. I just think we need to understand that what is going to be the role of Loftus-Cheek, what's going to happen to Mount, what are we going to do with Drinkwater, Barkley, Bakayoko, and Ampadu. And once those are answered, we can entertain the thought of Havertz is a great player, let's bring him in. And like I said to you before we were recording, what you can see by us signing Ziyech is that we clearly have identified specific players that we're going to go after, and that it's very direct. So if he's on the list and that's what they want, I think they'll get him. But I still think it seems unlikely. It just stinks of Bayern Munich, if I'm honest. But I think it would be a smart move, providing that you can, raise funds through getting rid of deadwood midfielders, sort out the role of Gilmour and Ampadu, and then you can consider that move. I think would be an intelligent place to be.
So off the back of that, what I want to ask now to Jonathan is, Kai Havertz is 20, right? I think he's 20. Oh, he's just turned 20, something like that. And 20. Some of the rumors we've recently heard that's really, really taking a lot of pace in the timeline, and it's continuously coming back. Is one which is the Coutinho one, the other one is now the Mertens one. I feel like, and the Mertens one was there in January as well, so it's not something that just came out of the blue. It's been going on for a little while. I feel like, as Jay was saying, Frank has seen certain needs that the team requires, and he's going after it. Ziyech was one of them. Coutinho and Mertens, it might be just one of them. It probably won't be both. I see he's looking for experience, knowing that Pedro and Willian are most likely going to go. So how's someone like Kai Havertz, another 20-year-old, mixed in with all the youngsters that we have? Where are you finding experience in this group, throwing Havertz in as well?
I mean, just to touch on our transfer policy at the moment, I mean, you look at Ziyech, we've been touting him for a few years. Lampard's obviously watched him in Champions League, wanted him. There's rumours that he's calling Mertens every day. So as Jay said, and as you've just said, we've clearly got a direct approach. And if we want a player and he fits the system, we're going to go and get him. And if Havertz is that sort of player, then I think, we will at least try. Again, we talk about Bayern Munich. It's a natural kind of transition for a great young German player to do in the Bundesliga. But for me, whilst he's 20, he's made his debut in 2016. He was in the Leverkusen Academy. 50 games, 100 games. He's the youngest player in the league to reach that mark. Now, he's been compared to Ozil by several people, obviously because of his nationality. So
and plus the way he drifts reminds me of Ozil.
Yeah, I just think he has got a fair bit of experience. He's played in various competitions. He will, be a very important part of the German national team. And I think when he comes in, he's got that perfect blend of youth with a bit of experience. And Mount has played a lot of games this season. He's played in the Championship, the Premier League now. He's getting a lot more savvy in terms of just how football is. And I think Havertz is kind of quite a bit ahead of some of our youth players because of the experiences he's had. Now, we talk about the amount of money that he's going to cost. Yes, you've got to get rid of other players. And I know, as I just said before, it doesn't make as much sense as Coutinho because of the low risk that deal would do. And it's one or the other. You can't get both. But I just think, and I'm not trying to get back to this point where Chelsea were 6, 7, 8 players of 6 foot plus. But when you've got a player of his height that can help with corners, that can help defending and attacking, and just be a bit more physical, because I'm not just using him as a tall guy who's strong, who can hold the ball, but he can hold the ball, he can turn, and he's got a lot of pace. Now, we obviously want quick transitions. We want to I'm not saying counter attack, but we want to have pace. We want to move forward quickly. He can certainly do that, and because of the variety of positions he can play, I think he fits in really well. And he just adds a lot of quality. And Jay touched on the point of having a small group of players with real quality, and he is certainly going to help with that. And he will be able to rotate, and he will demand a lot of minutes, or he will need a lot of minutes. But I just think he will complement what we already have. But again, I go back to the amount of money it's going to cost. That's I think the stumbling block. And I think probably why a lot of people now are saying we've got Mount, we've got Loftus-Cheek. I don't want to spend that money on him when we need to strengthen elsewhere.
No, fair enough. I mean, I get where you're coming from, 100%. What I want to throw to you though now is we've always been linked to Sancho, right? The fan base is dying for Sancho. He's the marquee signing. He's the one where everyone looks at that. This guy is the one who can replace Hazard. I don't know if Hazard can ever be replaced, but he'll come as close to replacing him. And that, the main sort of marquee player for Chelsea for years to come. So are you going to drop that sort of thought process now if there is an opportunity to get Kai Havertz?
I think it's more realistic. I know it's still a bit far-fetched, the rumour, but I think it's more realistic because Sancho has been linked with Man United as well. They've got more funds and more financial capability to buy him. And with the wage rumoured and the amount of money rumoured, I don't know if that's feasible at the moment, the Sancho deal. And it's gone a little bit quiet. It will probably come back around and go full circle, and he'll be, the talking point. But if you were to say to me, who do you want of the two? It's not an easy question. Not an easy question, but I would, and probably a lot of people would shoot me for this, but I would.
Yeah, you bet they would.
I would say Havertz, because I know we need a winger, and I know Sancho is a fantastic talent, but the amount of money it's going to cost. Yes, he can play on both wings, but Havertz can play in 3-4 positions. He's got more minutes. He's got more game time. He's got more experience. And I just think he will slot in straight away. Whereas I think Sancho will take a little bit of time. I know they're a similar age. I think he will take a little bit of time because defenders will be straight on him. And he is a little bit smaller. He's a little bit slender. And it's going to, I just think Havertz will slot in quite nicely because of his build, because of his ability. And I'm not saying Sancho's not got ability. And it's a horrible question to answer. And as I say, a lot of people disagree with that. But you take into account which is a massive part of this, and the possibility of it happening. I think Havertz is a bit more likely, and I would probably chase him a little bit more because of that. And yeah, it's a horrible question, to be honest.
Just to let you know, that single clip right there is going to be tweeted several times from my page. I'm going to make sure I say Johnathan wants Kai Havertz over Sancho, go get him. Jay, what I want to ask you now off the back of that, let's entertain this Kai Havertz sort of ideology a little bit further into formations. And then I want to ask you some really, really tough questions of those formations and where you play Kai and how it all impacts. And I want to see what Jonathan's thought process is off the back of that as well. So let's say next season, Chelsea go with the 4-3-3, with the three being sort of more inside. I think that's what sort of Lampard's been liking in the last couple of games before we've gone to the lockdown mode. He played with Mount and Barkley more inside of Giroud, still with the 4-3-3, but with the inside forwards allowing the fullbacks to really try and take advantage. So let's entertain that formation before we go to the 4-2-3-1. In that formation, where are you playing Kai Havertz?
Okay, so I think there's multiple things you can do with a 4-3-3, right? You can play flat. You can play more with an attacking midfielder or a holding midfielder, right? And you can keep the two sort of 8s and 6s either side. So I think personally, you play Havertz as your attacking midfielder, the sort of the central guy that will play behind the striker, and then you can have Kovacic, Kante, Mount, Loftus-Cheek, all those people around him, and I think that would work really effectively. I think also you could try and be really, really, like showy off clever, and you could do it in pre-season if you signed him, which would be to play Havertz as in a false nine, and to have Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi, similar to how Liverpool use Firmino.
Wow,
to have Havertz, 6 foot, lots of goals, lots of assists. Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi, they score, they create. You could have Havertz just sit slightly deeper, allow those two to pile on in, and then if you have Mount or Loftus-Cheek who are also willing to get in the goals, they can bomb forward as and when. And we can use Kante to rest in front of the defence, because I had people on Twitter telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about because I said that I think Kante can play as the deepest midfielder. He can do that. he just can do that. So if you were trying to be really experimental and trying to opt with a bit of a false nine, I think Havertz would be a really, really unbelievably good false nine.
You know what? I'm actually liking that. This is the first time where I can say I don't mind the Havertz idea because you've just said that false nine. Because I just pictured in my mind something that Barcelona did a while back where they used to have Henry, Leo Messi, and I think Samuel Eto'o. They had the three. And they used to play Messi in the middle, and they'd play Henry and Eto'o on the half spaces.
They've done it with Fabregas as well.
Fabregas. I was going to say Fabregas.
Yeah, and Messi wasn't really a forward. He wasn't a centre forward. He was more the link up. He would drop deep and he would find Henry and Eto'o, who would constantly be on the half spaces, and that angle in. And that's something. The question for you though, could you picture Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi really executing that though?
Pulisic definitely. Pulisic would crush it. I think he is unbelievable. Like, I actually think he is. And I said this to Matisse and Alex on a podcast we've done with them, and I was expecting to take some real pelters. But I think Pulisic has the most potential out of any young player we got at Chelsea.
He's so underrated.
He is so good, man. And like the thing is that boy knows where the back of the net is, and he does it all the time, and he's so direct. And equally, his experience in the Bundesliga before coming to Chelsea is very similar to what Havertz has. I think Pulisic could do that very easily. I think as well Hudson-Odoi, he's a creator more so than a finisher, which would also work really well, because a false nine doesn't mean that that centre forward attacking midfielder role gets neglected. It just means that you can open up channels in wider areas to be more direct. I think that could work really effectively, and I do think they could do it. I think it'd be really a really interesting shout.
What about Tammy? What happens to him?
Tammy's still going to play 30 games a season. It's absolutely no issue for him. He's not going to.
That's going to be a lot less than what he's played this season.
Yeah, but do you know what? 30 games a season when you're 22, 23, a top side, like a global top side, is really nothing to be worried about. If he's going to start the majority of games, all it is that Havertz offers a possibility to be tactically versatile, which is the whole point in signing any of the players that I think we're going for. Is for me, when I'm looking at who I would like Chelsea to sign, is can they play in more than one position, and can they play in those positions effectively? Because that is the most useful thing for us to have, because it means we're not as rigid as other teams. It means we can switch up as and when for different occasions and different games, and it means that people don't know what we're going to do. Teams don't know what we're going to do. It's like boxing. When they switch their stance, it throws their opponents out. And if we have the ability to switch stance like that, it's gonna really take teams out.
The more options we have, the better equipped we are in every match.
I think so. And also, hold on, just quick, sorry, but what I think is and I've said this before, is a hallmark of a really intelligent manager, is being able to effectively rest your young players when the going gets tough, in order to take them out of the spotlight. You look what Lampard did with Tomori, right? He took him out of the spotlight when the defence was getting a bit of heat in the media, and no one was criticising Tomori just because he was. If you're out of sight, you're out of mind. Tammy is going to go through stages like he did this season where goals aren't coming as regularly. And what you do then is you take them out for a little bit just so that the media doesn't jump on them. It's a way of managing young players, because when you put so much on someone so consistently, it usually doesn't work out. But if you say to Tammy, do you know what, mate? Next 2 or 3 weeks, we're probably going to try something different. Just have a little, we'll bring you on as a sub so it doesn't look like you're being taken out or that anything's bad. But we're just managing individuals and young players in a smart and intelligent way. And I think if you can take Tammy out for a couple of games to put someone like Havertz in and switch it up just slightly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think Lampard's good enough at communicating with his players that those ideas would be accepted generally.
No, that makes sense. What I wanted to ask off the back of that, obviously you would have seen that Chelsea were, I don't know if they were they've exercised it or not, but there were rumours that Oliver Giroud's contract was being exercised for further one more season. This sort of kind of tells me that we don't have any more space for a player like Kai Havertz to do something like what you've just said, a false line, because you've got the main man Tammy, then you've also got Oliver Giroud. So if you're going to play Kai Havertz as false line every now and then, do you pursue the 1-year extension for Giroud at all, or?
Yeah, I do, because I feel like I'm talking a lot. I feel sorry, Jonathan, but
I'm going to get to Jonathan. Don't worry.
What Giroud offers is, at his age and with his experience and his quality, is he offers people like Tammy the chance to learn. And Giroud is actually an incredibly good football player. And what typically happens with any young individual is that when you reach the age between 22 to 25, you physically develop, especially if you're a top level sport. You can see with Tammy that he's got a bit of growing to do. He's almost lanky, isn't he? But he looks like he could fill out a bit. And from Giroud, he can learn the way to hold up the ball, the way to see the channels of runners around him.
Yeah.
And that could be really useful. And I think as well, Giroud's a relaxed guy. He's a professional. He knows his role. He won't sign the contract unless they've been explicit about what he's going to do. He's still living in London. He's still be on around 80 to 100 grand a week. I think he's going to be kind of all right. And you can play him in cup games. You can play him. You can bring him on as a sub, and I don't think he'll complain. Because I just don't think he'll complain. I think he'll be quite happy to take that role. He's won trophies at Chelsea now. The fans really like him. It's important for young players to have experienced professionals that have, hundreds of goals to their name. That Giroud is a bit more unconventional. He plays in a different way to lots of strikers. He's strong. He can hold the ball. Tammy can learn. Those people need to be around to learn from. It's like when Arsenal gave Bergkamp a year extension. It was mainly so that he could train with the first team, so the young players can go to training every day and be like, oh my goodness, there's Dennis Bergkamp, and you can watch him.
Yeah.
And obviously Giroud's not Bergkamp, but you can learn from these older players. And yeah, I think I would keep Giroud, even if we're going for someone like Mertens, because they're important to have, and they understand what the club is. They've had success with the club, and they're seasoned professionals, man. Like Giroud's been playing top level football for 10 years.
Now that makes sense. Jonathan, what I want to sort of close out this Kai Havertz discussion and move into the next one is I asked you a very, very tough question a few episodes back. I gave you a budget restriction, might I say. Now I want to ask you the same thing again, right? And you need to think very, very carefully about this. Roman comes to you. You're Frank Lampard, all right? I'm Roman, and I come to you, right? And I say, hey, Jonathan, hey, Frank, I've got exactly £90 million. I know you have issues in left back. I know you have issues in centre back. But I'm about to sign Kai Havertz because he called me and he's willing to sign for Chelsea. I can get this man for you. But know this, if you have the same issues next season defensively in your left back and your centre back and you can't defend, you're on the line, mate. You're 100% on the line. what do you do?
If I sell any players, does that increase my transfer budget?
We've incurred a lot of losses. Those players need to be sold anyway to cover the losses for this season. I can only put in 90 million for you. That's it. And Kai Havertz is willing to sign.
Can we get Alaba for 10 million, 15 million maybe? That could solve the left back issue. It's a very interesting question. Look, I've said, and to touch on a few different points that you both made, I've said for quite a while our defence is a priority. I use the bucket analogy, leaking water. We have to strengthen the left back issue. We have to strengthen the centre back issue. They are priorities. And if we do not have money available, bearing in mind we bought Ziyech in an attacking role, if we don't have the ability to sign 2-3 players, with the money that we have, unfortunately, we've got to prioritise left back and centre back. So if you just say, would you rather Havertz or Tellez in the centre back? As much as I love Havertz, I'm just okay with him. I would still go with the left back and centre back, because if we sort that out,
I love you, man. I love you.
if we sort that out, it will help us a lot going forward. Because if we, at times this season, we've played quite well. Look at the Leicester game, just as an example, a recent one.
Yeah.
We're 1-0 up. We're looking okay. We concede a silly goal. We then concede another silly goal, and our heads drop. And because they're young, it's very difficult to bounce back. Yes, Rudiger, we then equalise. And it's the same in a Bournemouth game. We got hit by a very quick double, 1-0 up, looking like we're going to come out in the second half and demolish them, which I was very confident we would do. We can see 2 very silly goals, one from a corner, which continual problem, and one from just positional play, poor defensive play that then counter with us or against us. So you take them silly lapses of concentration and silly defensive mistakes out, and we're still leading the game, almost drawing the game. And that, for a mindset for a young player, is a lot easier to have to constantly bounce back, because you see their heads and they kind of go down. And it's very difficult for young players that have not been in these positions before to come back and, right, let's go. If you had like a Fabregas on the pitch, let's say, this is an example, who would go, he's got the experience of many games, of many leagues. And Giroud, when he played, he's got the experience. We've got other players that can add that. But it's very difficult when you've got so many young players that concede so many sloppy goals. It will get their heads down. So I would go left back, centre back, as I've said before in a few things. I'm a big advocate for sorting the defence out. And to touch on some other points, another thing I've said since October, since I came on Twitter and YouTube and stuff, Olivier Giroud is massively underrated. Yes, he doesn't score you 25 goals a season. Yeah. And I was kind of a little bit annoyed because I said I really wanted him to play. He played one game against West Ham and people said he's rubbish. What a load of rubbish you are. Second striker. Actually, you look at it, what does Batshuayi really offer? Yes, he scored some important goals. I'm not going to take that away. But he is not the striker that Chelsea need. He's not got enough ability, and he does not really suit our play because he wants to be there tapping the ball into the back of the net. We don't really play like that. As much as if he plays as a second striker, it's not as big of an issue, but he just doesn't look like he's got the level. So I got bashed a lot for Giroud, and now everyone's, sending all this love to him. Kind of a bit annoying, to be honest, because as Jay touched on, he'd be a great signing for another one-year deal. He can offer something different to Tammy and someone like Havertz or any other striker we buy. And I'd be happy if we go with Tammy, we go with Giroud and get rid of Batshuayi. And if you get Havertz, he can play up front and you can bring Brozier, if he doesn't go on loan, to have that third striker role. And I know Jay made some very interesting points in some articles about him playing for Chelsea next season, and he could be of use. So I think we've got options, but as much as it's great to talk about these attacking players, we've got to strengthen the defence. And one last point on Sancho, to be selfish, as obviously an English fan, for me, his development in the Bundesliga for one more year, for the England team, for his development, to be selfish, I think that would actually help him more in the long term. As much as next year he may then cost another 30-40 million, I just think for his development, I think he just needs one more season. He scores a lot of goals and assists. I think a lot of the goals he probably wouldn't score in the Premier League, as much as his movement is great. He looks like he's got a decent footballing brain. He's kind of one of those cage players that is great five-a-side, but he has transitioned to 11-a-side. So I just think, it's tough, but I will always say, when your bucket's leaking and you've got holes, you've got to cover the holes. So
no, man, I love it. I love it that you said that. I think at the end of the day, all of these rumours that come around, and I know Jay was sort of alluding in this as well, we need to understand what the priority is. And I think we understand what the priority is, which is left back, centre back. So much more important to spend money right there. You know, we don't know what the budget is. I don't know. We could ball out and get a left back and a centre back and a winger and a striker. I don't know. But for me, that seems very, very unrealistic with all the situation that's happening, with all the losses we incurred last season, with all the income that we're not generating right now. So yeah, it's great to still realise the priority. But I think both have put some really, really good, I suppose, pros in regards to why Kai Havertz could be a very, very valuable acquisition for our team. But I didn't like the fact that you said that you'd want Kai Havertz over Sancho. We'll always remember that. But we'll move on to the next topic. I'll go to Jay first. Aubameyang. Just like Kai Havertz, I'm hoping you guys are understanding why I'm sort of against some of these. It's not because I don't think they're quality. They're 100% quality. But it's because I'm looking at our squad and I'm thinking, I've already got a lot of players. I need some experience in certain areas and some quality in certain areas that I don't have. When we said about Kai Havertz, I feel like, I've got my Ruben Loftus-Cheeks, I've got my Mount, I've got my Ziyech, I've got my Pulisic and Havertz and Aubameyang. Similarly with Aubameyang, I know this guy is a goal machine. I get it. All he does is score goals. But for me is, if I'm preparing a long-term contract for Tammy, which Chelsea has been rumoured to do in recent times for Tammy, then that gives me a feeling that the club believes he's the main man. We are building something around him. He's going to be the backbone of the team. He's going to be our sort of Didier Drogba-esque kind of figure. And we're going to give him as many minutes as we can. Of course, we're going to monitor him. If he doesn't perform, he's going to get dropped. And I think Frank's been pretty ruthless about that kind of stuff. He's dropped players like Kepa. He's dropped Pulisic. He's taken time with Havertz and Aubameyang. So I don't think all of this stuff about, he's if there's no competition, he's just going to be all relaxed. No, Frank doesn't let anyone feel relaxed. So when I was thinking in that motion, I just thought someone like Aubameyang, you can't ignore the stature of this human being. Like, you put Aubameyang and Tammy side by side every day of the week. I don't know about you two. I would be choosing Aubameyang. Like, it's not for me, that's not competition. Like, for me, competition is, let's say, Tammy and Victor Osimhen. Like, two youngsters, I'd go and tell them, go out there and show me who's the best out of you guys. For me, that's competition. Aubameyang and Tammy, for me, is there's nothing there. Aubameyang, go ahead. Tammy, sit down in the bench and watch this guy perform his heart out. So what I want to ask you, Jay, is what's your thoughts around Aubameyang? I know a few people have been talking about he could play from the left wing, but then once again, I have issues that we've already got competition with Pulisic and Havertz and Aubameyang, with Ziyech taking one of the wings. Do you see this as a viable option with Aubameyang?
Do I see it as viable? Probably not. I would definitely take him because he is so good. I also wouldn't entertain playing him as a left winger because, again, it comes back to intelligent management. Actually, Aubameyang's over 30, right? Yeah, and we all know he's rapid. We all know he's got that direct. I'm gonna run past you with complete speed and probably score. But you can be really intelligent with him and keep him as your striker, and he can use his pace less frequently, which means he lasts longer. It's like what Leicester are doing with Vardy. Vardy gets about 16 touches of the ball a game, but he scores often because they use him correctly. He very rarely contributes to any play, Jamie Vardy. He's just at the end of the opportunities when they create them. And that's a really smart way of keeping an older player in keeping
fresh
them effective.
Throughout.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Aubameyang's great. And I think as well, what Tammy can do with Aubameyang is actually just witness in front of him what the level that you have to be a world-class player, because Giroud is brilliant, but Aubameyang is actually world-class. Aubameyang is
no doubt.
he is an unbelievable striker, and Tammy can look at this guy and be like, wow, look at the movement that this guy makes, because you don't need loads of pace to have good movement. You just need to use that pace to get around people. And Tammy isn't the quickest. I don't think he's ever going to be the quickest, but he can learn a lot from Aubameyang. But I actually wrote about this yesterday. I think with Aubameyang, there's no way that he's going to come to Chelsea. At his age, he's got to go somewhere where he's going to actually win some trophies, and we're a club that does that, but we're not there yet.
Do you reckon with him we'd win though? Do you reckon with Aubameyang we'd become title contenders?
I think the problem is no, I don't. I think we're 2-3 years behind Liverpool City. And in 2-3 years, Aubameyang's not there, right? And to me, I can see him going to PSG or Real Madrid, and he'll win domestic trophies more likely with PSG. He can compete in Europe. You know, when you're at clubs like Real Madrid, you don't always expect to play every minute. The league's slightly kinder. Chelsea aren't too forthcoming when it comes to giving players over 30 long and decent contracts, so it would be counterintuitive to the process that is currently going on. And also, I was going to interject when Johnathan was speaking about Giroud previously, is that what Giroud offers the young players, and why actually it'd be a really decent thing to do, is keep him, because one, you won't get much if you sell him. You might as well keep him and get him on a free next year, because there's no point. Yeah. Giroud, he's a World Cup winner, and he wasn't just a squad player. He was like one of the first names on the team sheet for the majority of the time. He emanates this winning mentality. He was there. He scored and assisted against his former club in a European Cup final. He was a top scorer in that. He maintains within the club a winning mentality that, in fairness to the young players, they haven't got yet through their limited experience. And you need, in order to be a top club, you need to keep these older, more experienced people around who know what it's like to win, and to have that mentality, and to stay professional, and to stay relaxed. And you know what? Aubameyang doesn't have that either, because he hasn't really won much. He's won a couple of things with Dortmund. I don't know what he's won with Arsenal. Has he won an FA Cup or anything with Arsenal?
I think he's won an FA Cup. I think he's won FA Cup.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? Giroud's won 4. He's won 4 FA Cups. Giroud's won a World Cup. He's won a Europa League. There's that experience that it doesn't matter how actually good you are. If you have that experience, that is really beneficial for young players. And Giroud can say to Tammy when he's had a tough Champions League game, do you know what? Just relax a bit. Maybe look at how you're moving. You could have stood there and you could have opened a channel. And Tammy, I think, respectful and intelligent enough to take those things on board. And Aubameyang doesn't have that. It doesn't have that aura about him, even though he's a much better player. He doesn't have that. Giroud's almost wise, isn't he?
Yeah.
You can imagine him contributing in a really meaningful way and being a useful tool for Lampard, as much as I'm sure Pedro and Willian are in training as well, because Willian takes pelters as well. But I'm sure that the young players probably benefit from seeing him train and knowing what it takes to be, a 2-time, 3-time Premier League winner, FA Cup, European Cup, those kind of things. He's won all those things as well. So it's important to not take that element out of the club too quickly, even though we are all excited about youth and change. And Aubameyang would be great. Mertens equally would be really great. But Giroud has those winning, has those trophies behind him and that experience where he knows how to manage situations. And that's something that is more intangible that Tammy or Pulisic or Havertz and Aubameyang can learn from. And I think that would, keeping Giroud smart. But Aubameyang would be unbelievable if we did sign him, and I would play him often for at least a season. I think he would be unbelievable. Yeah.
No, fair enough. Johnathan, what I want to ask you is, initially, I think we all agree. We were sort of saying that Aubameyang is world class. He'd be unbelievable for us. As Jay initially said, that he probably doesn't see it as being viable. Knowing that we may not be in line to get a title. Aubameyang is probably at an age where he wants to win stuff now. Really put some stuff that Jay was saying about Giroud, having so many silverware. He probably wants to have all of that because he's got the quality to be in a team to win all of that. You look at our project, right? You look at our project. Do you get a sense that this is something for the long run, that we are probably not going to be title contenders for a little while, that we're building onto it? Do you think that's wise, or do you think, no, you know what, we're Chelsea, we should just go out there and really, really challenge for titles next season? We haven't won for 4 years. We haven't got out of the Champions League second group for like God knows how many years. We've waited long enough. We need a player like Aubameyang. I don't really care about any of these youngsters. They can wait. They can watch. We just need to bolster our team with quality, because I want to start getting back winning titles. Which way are we sort of heading towards, and which way is the right way?
I mean, from what I've seen from the Chelsea hierarchy, we want to invest in youth, but also we want to invest in players with real quality. Now, there's no doubt Aubameyang has that. But for me, when we look at the situation we're in, we aren't going to be title contenders for a couple of years. Even if we sign Aubameyang, he's not going to make us Premier League champions. One player, yes, he will score goals, but he's not going to propel us to that. Now, would it be a step up for him from Arsenal? Are we going to win more than Arsenal in 3 years? Yes, but he needs to be in a team. I think someone like Barcelona, if they don't get someone like Martinez, he'll be perfect for him, because he'll go there, he'll win a few trophies to add something to his cabinet that isn't there. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing he probably thinks. That's why he looked like he celebrated so wildly when they scored in that Europa League tie that they then got knocked out of. But you can see it was there, because he wants to win things. And I can't remember if he won the FA Cup or not, but yeah, he will win more at Chelsea. But the stumbling block for me is that his age. We're not, as Jay said, and we've all said before, we're not looking to offer really long deals to players. His transfer value and his wage, that's going to be quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
And then you just look at the fact, are Arsenal really going to sell another player to Chelsea knowing that he will go on to be more successful? Are they really going to take that embarrassment? I would do anything if I was Arsenal to save him from going to us. Now, if I was them, I would do all I could to keep him. If not, get him to another league. Because if he goes to another team, you're telling me that if he's available for 30, 40, 50 million, I know Man City have got Jesus.
Man City snap him up.
Would you not go, we need to score more goals to win the league? We'll have him. Liverpool probably wouldn't buy him, but there's other teams that will come in for him, and that's why I pointed towards Barcelona. But the reason I'm more of an advocate for someone like a Havertz on that amount of money is because he's got longevity. Aubameyang, is he going to get any better? No, he's going to stay at a fantastic level for a couple of years, and he's world class. He will score goals, don't get me wrong. But is he ever going to improve? Probably not. Yes, he will improve our side, but in a term as a player, and as, again, another fantastic point from Jay about Vardy, they utilise him in the right way. Chelsea would need him to come in and be quick and get those goals on a consistent basis for 2 years, and we would expect that of him. If he came in and scored 10 to 15 goals, after one season, Chelsea fans would go, that was a complete waste of money. I don't think he'd do that, but I just think we need to look at the players that are here and their ceiling is up here. And Aubameyang there's not much room for improvement for me. As great as a player, if Chelsea sign him, I'm not going to get annoyed. It'll be a great signing. But I look at all of these things and I look at the possibilities, and people might say, "Oh, Havertz isn't," that's not going to happen. But I just think because of everything, it's more likely. And Aubameyang, I can't really see it happening. And as much as he would be great for us, I go back to his position as well. I know Jay said about striker, and other people say play him as a striker. He's looked better for Arsenal, probably from the left wing. He's played in the left wing and striker. So I want a striker who is 1,000,000% just a striker, going to come in and score goals, which he will do, don't get me wrong. But I want it over a longer period of time.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Boys, just as well, sorry, I'm just looking on Transfermarkt at Aubameyang's career honours. He's not won any trophies of Arsenal. Oh. He's won one German Cup with Dortmund. He won a French League Cup with Saint Etienne, and he's won 2 German Super Cups with Dortmund. The only thing he has is a Europa League runners-up with Arsenal. He's got no trophies, and that's for a player of his quality. It's a shame.
Should have played better in the final. Oh wait, it was against us, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you might as well, like, you can see when you look at that, you can almost understand why you might as well just go to PSG and just win 3 or 4 domestic trophies and
Just win it all.
And well, they'll pay him 200 grand a week. He can live in a really nice city. He can win domestic double after domestic double, score a load of goals, and play Champions League football. And like, that's the thing with PSG, right? Is they're a non-competitive club, really, because they're just going to walk the league. But for someone like Aubameyang, why would you not go there? Only because he played for Saint Etienne, but so he played there 7-8 years ago.
That was a long time ago. Yeah, I don't think you would care one bit.
No, and Aubameyang's actually not. I don't think he's going to be that expensive. I think he'll be about 40 mil, maybe a bit more. And that's really not that much for what he is. I know PSG have Icardi, but Cavani's going. You could see Real Madrid going for Mbappe. Those things aren't actually that out of the question. Yeah. Like, Cavani's going to go. Is everyone's saying about Atletico Madrid? Why would PSG not just get Aubameyang? Neymar's always linked to Barcelona. Mbappe's always linked to Real Madrid. There's a geezer up front at Arsenal that bangs goals every season, that doesn't win anything, that would more than willingly join the club, I reckon.
Makes
so
complete sense.
For him as well. Yeah, it makes sense for him.
He'll win titles there. He'll go far in Champions League, possibly even become contenders as well for Champions League. And it'll be perfect for him to sort of end off his, as Johnathan was saying, his 30 or 31, whatever the case is. He's not going to get any better.
And he can speak the language. He can speak the language, which is also a really big thing. So, when you actually take those things into account, why would you move to a side that's looking to be really competitive in 3 or 4 years when you can go to a team that's domestically dominant, that has actually looked really good in Europe? The language, the place. It just seems, for him personally, why would you not do that? And obviously, unless you love living in London that much that you're willing to not move to Paris. But I don't know, it just seems a bit more of an obvious thing for him to do.
On that, though, let's just entertain this a little bit further, what you've just said. And I'll go to Johnathan first to get his point of view. Jay just said, if he does, let's say he loves being in London, he really enjoys being in London, and he doesn't want to leave yet, but he doesn't want to stay in Arsenal either because he can't see them being remotely pushing for anything. If there's an opportunity and he's keen to come to Chelsea, you snap him up right now?
I think you have to.
Yeah.
I think you do. As much as there's so many things in my mind that kind of pull me back and not put me off this deal, but just make me think, I just don't really think it's going to happen. But yeah, if he's available, I think Chelsea would. I mean, we're looking at someone like Mertens, maybe because of the fact that he might be a bit more of a squad player. You choose Aubameyang every day of the week. As much as everything we've just said, it's more, I'm looking at everything is, for me, I look at it with a level head. Does he fit? Does the money make sense? Does he fill a hole in our squad? Does he improve us? He does all of them, despite the other drawbacks. So you have to get him. I mean, it depends. If he does want to win trophies, if he wants to stay in London and not win trophies, he can always go to Tottenham or West Ham.
Palace.
You're on fire today. You are on fire.
It's up to him. I think, PSG. I mean, I talked about Bath. I think PSG is a fantastic one again. I always enjoy listening to Jay speak, and he's always got some good points. So yeah, I think that's an interesting one. And yeah, for him, and I talked a little bit selfishly for Sancho about him having another year. For Aubameyang, it would make sense. Try yourself in another league. You've done well in England despite not winning anything. You've done well in Germany despite not really winning anything. Go to somewhere where you do well, but add the silverware.
Yeah. I think that makes far more sense. You know what? I'm so glad I'm having this conversation with you two, and I'm hoping the people that are watching this can understand how we're breaking it all down. What could possibly go through a player's mind. Not many would have probably thought about this thing about him possibly wanting to win titles, and we are possibly not in a position to win titles next season. And it makes far more sense for someone like him to go to PSG or Barcelona, where he can win titles instantly to finish off his career on a very high. I don't think, he would have the desire to play for Chelsea wouldn't be, in his priority list, as opposed to the desire of winning silverware, which, his career truly deserves. I know I'm going to get so much heat from this by people saying, "Oh, here we go. Miz shows no ambition for our club. He doesn't think that we've got any chance of winning the title. So what are we doing? Oh, here we go. Top 4 only. We're just chasing top 4. That's all we do." So yeah, it's good to understand that it's not as easy as we think it is. I want to end the whole show now with one little question for both of you guys. I'll go with Jay first. This whole concept. So we've touched on 2 players, right? And lately, what I've been getting from a few fans is, where's our ambition? We're declining. We're not going for these big players anymore. We're linked with Mertens. We're linked with Coutinho. Why? Why can't we go for Aubameyang? Why can't we go for Kai Havertz? What's your message when you see that kind of response come your way?
Oh man, it actually drives me mad. One, Coutinho's a world class player. I won't have it any other way. He just is. He is so good. He's Premier League proven. He's played at Barcelona, won trophies at Bayern Munich. He is not getting the respect he deserves on the timeline purely because people don't want him. Secondly, it's not 2008 anymore. We're not going to sign Deco and Ballack and.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much.
But the thing is, people are getting caught in the fact that, 10 years ago, we went and bought out all the best players and we won everything. It's like, yeah, you're right, we did do that. And look, we're the most successful team since 2000 and most successful UK team. But actually, that is not the point of what we're trying to do. Firstly, if this project doesn't work out, the club will be bought for a world record fee, as was rumoured in the summer. So, and then that person can inject the cash and we can go back to playing that way. But actually, do you know what? That is not really the point anymore because we've done it. Why? We've been there, we've done it. We've won every single trophy, single trophy multiple times besides the Champions League, which we won once. It's time to start a new project and something completely fresh. And it's really exciting the way we've got to do things. But what we have to do is we have to do things sensibly. We have to give things thought. We can't be, overly reactionary. We need to not just buy the shiny toy, which I said before. It doesn't matter if we don't get Sancho, because what we can do is we can go out and we can sign someone else that maybe isn't as good now, but could fit our system better. We just need to be patient with this process because, we're not going to be the team that people think we are yet. In 3 years' time, we will see what this project is, because it really does take that long. Klopp's Liverpool were pretty average to start with, but when you believe in the project and you give it time, you look how good it becomes, and no one's doubting the potential of any of our young players. No one's doing that because they're that good. But they just need time, and there's no point in just being like, oh, well, summer's come around, we've got 300 million, so let's buy Sancho, Koulibaly, Coutinho, Kai Havertz, Lewandowski and Alex Telles and we'll be brilliant. It's like, no, we won't. You missed the point. That misses the point entirely, which is, slow cooking almost. It's the process that takes time, but, you have to reap the benefits at the end of it. That's just the way it is. So and if you don't like it, that's fine. You can voice your opinion. You've got the right to think whatever you want, but that is the way it is going at the moment. And you might as well get behind the project and hope for success in a different way. Because if Chelsea in 5 years' time have won a few trophies, what you've done then is you've shown to the world, look, we can buy big players, we can win trophies consistently, but look what we can do. Our academy can come out and do the exact same thing. We have all these skills, we have all these tools. Like, we are an amazing club, come join us. And when you've cemented that your youth players can be as good as the legends that you bought a while ago, that makes your club unbelievable. It's why Bayern are at that level. It's why Barcelona are at that level, because they've proved that their youth talent is just as good as the talent they buy, which demonstrates to players and fans that you have a very healthily run club in an intelligent way.
Self-sustainability. That's what it is. And I tweeted something, and I want to go to Johnathan now. I tweeted something, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, and I did a very cheeky poll which didn't bang at all because people don't buy into any sort of intellectual polls these days. Throw in some really, really cheap polls, and I'll get 2,000 votes, which just doesn't mean anything. But what I tweeted a couple of days ago said that Lampard's had this season. This season, he's not had, like, he couldn't do much. We've had a transfer ban. What he could probably do was, start playing the style that he wants to play and progress as much as he can. Next season, I feel like, he's going to fill in those missing links that we've got, that we've seen this season. He's going to try and block those. And as you always say, the holes in the bucket needs to be blocked. So he's most likely going to do that. And I've said in my tweet that possibly 21-22 season is when we can realistically start giving it a go. And of course, 22-23 is when, we should be there if this project goes along the way. Now, that's a long time because, as I said, 4 years we haven't won a title. Several years we haven't gone out of the Champions League second round yet. What's your message to the people that are, I personally think, are just naively impatient? I mean, we've not won anything for a little while in terms of titles, like big titles. Yes, we've won the Europa League, but I'm talking about Premier League title or going very far in Champions League. So why the sudden impatient behaviour now? What's your message towards those fans?
It's difficult with the consumer society that we have. People want things instantly. People want success. They think that you buy a few players, you can instantly get success. You have to gel them. You have to build a squad, bring the youth in. There's many components that have to happen to have a winning side. Now, Lampard, he's done decent in his first season. And I allude to your tweet, Miz, that you just mentioned. And I also go back to one of Jay's yesterday, where he said about his expectations for the season, which I think was spot on. It's about improving every year and trying to get a domestic or some sort of trophy to breed that winning mentality. And for me, if you were to say to me, Lampard is going to gain a position in the next 3 years, we're going to gain a position in the league. So next year, third, year after second, the year after we win the league. If we do that, alongside winning a domestic trophy, doing well in the Champions League, that for me, I would be happy, because you can see the progression where those players in that squad and in that system are going to grow and become better. Yes, 3 years before we win another Premier League title might seem ridiculous and people might want Lampard sacked, but realistically, you look at other teams like Liverpool and Man City, it ain't going to really get any worse. We're going to have to improve. So it's a Premier League title is not a given. It's very difficult. I mean, Liverpool did amazing last year, didn't win the league, and we're not.
They're probably not going to win this season either.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, you look at the squad that Klopp had when he joined. That famous squad. A bit like the famous 2012 Champions League final squad that Chelsea had. You look at that Liverpool squad and you look at it now. I know he's bought players, but he's made players better. Lampard will do the same. It will take time. It's taken Klopp time. It took Guardiola time. And as I said it before, he didn't come in and win things first year. It takes time to get the squad that he wants. And Lampard has not signed any players yet other than Ziyech. So he will take time to get there. And next year, don't get me wrong, if we don't improve, we don't go far in the cups, I will start questioning Lampard a little bit. I'm not going to want him sacked, but you've got to just see that gradual progression. And bearing in mind he's a legend at the club, he should be given that time. And my dad, I always, when people say, I know I'm not that old, but the young ones that have just seen us win trophy after trophy, that think these young players are instantly going to propel us to glory. My dad saw us win the 1970 Cup against Leeds. We didn't win anything until, until I was born, probably 95, 6. That's when we started winning FA Cup, little bits like that. Europa Cup.
Yeah, 97 we won the FA Cup, didn't we?
Yeah. So there was 20 odd years where we weren't that successful. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get back to that point, but have a little bit of patience, for goodness sake. You cannot expect these things to happen overnight. It doesn't work in that way, and you have to trust the process. And I think what, for me, makes me comfortable as a fan who is used to success, but I look at it, the board, yes, people will say Mourinho's done poor deals as well as good ones. The way we look like we're trying to work, the way Lampard talks in his press conferences, the way he conducts himself, the way he makes his players conduct himself, the way he's got hungry players in the academy that want to play for Chelsea. That, for me, is a very important factor in realising that it's a process that they've got figured out. that we have to stick to and we have to trust.
No, absolutely well said, boys.
Miz,
Yeah,
I'm
Jack,
really sorry to. I'm
No, go on,
really
go on.
sorry to interject. Yeah, because I know we've run quite for quite a while now. But just the final thing, and Johnathan touched on it perfectly, was that with Liverpool and City, you saw what happened to Tottenham, right? So Tottenham had Pochettino, brilliant squad, got Champions League final. When he goes and the squad ages out, things start to capitulate, and you bring in Mourinho, who is a brilliant manager and doesn't really fix anything. When Guardiola leaves City, which he will do, and Aguero and David Silva are gone, Company's gone, things aren't that easy to sort out. Liverpool, if and when Klopp leaves, when Salah, Mane, they're 26, 27, couple years time, when things start, injuries come in, creep in, that it can't be sustained always. That's going to be the time when Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi are 23, 24. These guys are like, we're preparing now better than any other team in the league for 3 years' time, because
100%.
Liverpool and City are currently experiencing success. Man United are not an intelligently run club. Wolves look pretty decent. Leicester are going to always lose their big players to the bigger teams. So people need to understand that actually, when the cycle for Man City and Pep Guardiola runs out, and when the big players go, when Klopp leaves after, he typically spends 7 years at a club. He did with Mainz and he did with Dortmund. After that, he's won the Champions League. All he's got to do is win the Prem. Then he's done. Like he's actually done. What then? What then? You can't. It doesn't matter if you bring in another world-class manager, because it's not the same. And we have to be ready to say to people, look, we are not there yet, but when those teams start slowing down, we're only going to be speeding up, and that's just the way that it is.
You just bring in Gerrard and hope there's no bananas on the floor.
Yeah.
Man, that is going to be some scenes. Steven Gerrard managing Liverpool against, let's say, when they faced Chelsea against Frank Lampard. But what I also wanted to touch on before we end up here is, Frank is a young coach, so we could possibly have a coach for the first time where we can have a long tenure, hoping everything goes into his way, hoping everything falls into his place, and we can have a manager that can be here for 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever the years, and really build a legacy, not only as a player that he's done it, but as a manager as well. And seeing some of these players grow along with him in his managerial career, in the likes of Tammy, Mount, Reece James, Billy Gilmore. It's exciting times. It's really, really exciting times. Just on the Klopp point, I just want to say, I have this feeling he's going to be here for a while. I just get this feeling. I 100% understand from Pep. I feel Pep is someone who will just come to a point where he'll just say, I've had it. Like, it tastes bitter now. Like, I just want to take a couple of years off from football and I'll just chill out. But for me, with Klopp, I feel like he's just found the niche. He's really found the niche in his life. And this could be if there was another Alex Ferguson style of tenure, I could see that. And I could really see Liverpool dominating for years and years. And it's really a challenge for us to bridge that gap. I 100% agree with both of you guys in the sense that I could see Man City capitulating, because as soon as Pep goes...
And they've got no Champions League football.
And they're going to Champions League football, which, 2 seasons as well, I think?
2 seasons,
so, yeah. I can definitely see Man City capitulating, but I have this very, very scared feeling that Liverpool they're here for the long haul. Yeah,
but also, like, Klopp could just, when you win everything, that hunger and drive does sometimes stop. And he's a guy that, as well, he's a really interesting manager, because he goes to clubs that typically foster a similar atmosphere. Dortmund, Liverpool, very similar. You can almost see him looking over his shoulder and being like, oh, do you know what? Roma and Lazio, they look interesting. They're doing well. They've got good, lively fans. I can go there, and in 2 seasons, I can make Roma the best team in Italy, and they're a legendary club like Liverpool that was struggling at the time when I joined, and I rebuild and I make this brilliant again. And that's also something that could happen. But I do think that he's going to be here for at least 3-4 years. Yeah,
I feel as well. Yeah, go on, Jonathan.
I mean, we talk about Fergie, and we talk, you don't see longevity in managers anymore. I think, he was Scottish Fergie. He had an affiliation kind of with Man United when he got there, and he was so successful. I don't with these managers that we've talked about, Mourinho, Guardiola, and Klopp, great managers, they build something. Not so much Mourinho, but those two especially. I think that they want to conquer every league, and whilst Klopp spends more time than the other one, I think Klopp, for his CV and for his legacy, will him being at Liverpool for 10, 15 years help that? I think he'd go, I want to conquer every single league. And Guardiola's done that. He's nearly achieved that. If he can win another Premier League title and possibly the Champions League at Man City, I think he achieves that. And then he moves on. I think European Champions League for Man City will be great for them, but it will spell the end of Guardiola. And I think a Premier League title or Champions League title for Liverpool again, that will spell the end of Klopp for me. As much as he could stay, I think they want to go there and go, 5 leagues dominated, done that. Bucket list finished.
And the only place left for him to go is Italy. It's just Italy that's left for both of them.
Spain. Klopp go Spain, I guess, as well. But I think he'll probably go Italian first.
Yeah, Klopp could,
So
in Spain, man. Can you imagine Klopp at Real Madrid?
Oof, I could see that. I could see
it. Unbelievable.
Can you see those fist punches from Real Madrid?
Yeah, I know. You just see Klopp and Mbappe killing it.
But yeah, boys, no, you guys are absolutely right. I think exciting times ahead for sure for our club, for Frank Lampard and all the young talents that we have, and hopefully everything goes our way. But thank you so much, boys, for joining me in this discussion. I know we went a bit over the time, but hopefully everyone's got some really, really good information. I honestly have got some fantastic information, which I'll get some small clippets here and there and tweet over the next couple of days. Look out for that. So, have a very, very good day and enjoy the rest of the afternoon, boys. See ya.
See you later, man.